Back in 2008, Call of Duty World at War was actually one of the first games I reviewed on this channel. And at the time, I had just started the Industrial Gamer channel after closing a previous one. And this game was brand new coming out at the time. And I just recall that after the crazy hype and just the incredible entry that Call of Duty 4 was, everyone was looking forward to this game in particular. I actually had GameFly as a service back then, and I think I was 14, so I was too young to work and I had to rely on my parents to buy me my games. And somehow I had convinced them to get me GameFly as a service so I can play all the new games as they start coming out. And well, to my excitement, they actually agreed. And I just recall that the moment that this game came in the mail, slotting it into my PS3 and getting to play and be a part of a Call of Duty at launch was something I was very excited to partake in. Although I played Call of Duty 4 and Call of Duty 3, I got into those games much later after the release. Well, Call of Duty 4 not so much, it was only a few months after, right? But still, I wasn't there at launch because I got my PS3 as a Christmas gift in 2007. So, you know, basically I had to contend with catching up with all those releases prior to me getting that system. But as far as World at War goes, I just kept the game for many weeks on end. However, I always felt in the back of my mind that I much preferred the style, the map designs, and just the overall story that Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare had. But regardless, when I reviewed this game back then, it was a lot of fun, and I did my best to praise it and really talk about my time playing the multiplayer and even covering it in a short, albeit terrible way, but in some capacity nonetheless. It was just a completely different time, man. My content has changed so dramatically since then, and it's almost unrecognizable to watch some of those videos that I made back then, watching them today. It's just crazy. So anyway, here I am now, nearing 17 years on from that initial review I did, and due to the nature of these reminiscing videos, this has now given me a second chance to sort of resubmit my review for this game, and now replaying it in a much more mature light, being more knowledgeable while also having the background of playing games released prior to this one. You know, here's my opportunity to really talk about my feelings on the game. So here we go. After all this time, has replaying Call of Duty World at War changed my perception on the game at all? One thing I must say is that immediately upon starting this one, something that came flooding back to me was just the difference in tone compared to the likes of the prior entry, Call of Duty 4. World at War feels a lot more horrific in nature. It is substantially more violent and just shows a gruesome amount of detail to horrifying levels of realism, depicting the terrible and violent events that these soldiers had faced during this time. The entire game feels almost straight up like a horror rendition of the Call of Duty series, with just about no showcase of cinematic character development or heroism. And while you do come across some very iconic characters in this one, and they've actually employed like Hollywood talent with the likes of Gary Oldman and Kiefer Sutherland to really bring these people to life. But, you know, it just comes across so immersive that you'd be hard-pressed to notice any of these incredible additions made to the franchise. You start off as an American prisoner being interrogated by the Japanese, and you get saved almost immediately, and this puts you into a raid like right off the get-go of these Japanese bungalows, saving your American captives. And just the opening 20 minutes is explosive, intense, and showcases some outright incredible advancements made to the engine that just brings all these sequences to life with incredible detail. As you play through the game, this feeling of being outmanned, outgunned, and the overall fear of dying in just the most gruesome, painful way possible never leaves your side. You play through as individual soldiers, working your way through various synonymous and not so well known World War II battles. And in addition, you'll be playing on the Russian side as well, and it's these sequences in particular that offer a very unique take and perspective on the war. But you also have these quieter moments that the game takes you through, and it will just have your jaw dropping continuously at what's unfolding on your screen. The stage I'm showing off right now shows the intensity, but it is only a fraction of the gruesomeness brought about by this entry. And, you know, new to this game and the franchise as well was the inclusion of the flamethrower, which just brought about it some outright gorgeous fire effects, but coupled with it as well, some of the most cringe-inducing and terrifyingly raw death sequences. You'll be pinned down, and this flamethrower acts as a turning point for the battle, and you'll be, burning people out from cover and around corners, and in these bunkers, and the way the soldiers react and scream, and again the detail that the devs put into their bodies even after they've been burned, it's both astonishing and sickening at the same time. It's just like you can't just look away. Now, recognizing all this, I must say the visuals have definitely seen an increase in detail. And in particular, it's really the lighting of this one that really comes across as just being a bit above the likes of the last entry, Call of Duty 4, which was already at the time, graphically very impressive and quite good looking. And the game retains the frame rate of that entry, but just adds with it great particle effects, these vehicle sections, it just increased details and dynamic shadows and so much more. I do think looking at this game now, it is a bit of a step up from Call of Duty 4, and as a result of all these additions, it's aged a bit better. And playing this on a Series X via backwards compatibility, it just takes care of any of the frame rate drops that would have incurred and just perfects the presentation if you don't have yourself a PC copy to push beyond this. So let's take refuge for a bit and review the Call of Duty World at War box art on Xbox 360. I quite like this cover art, it's very iconic, and I like the cooler temperature and just the soldier kind of running in the blazing jungle there. So yeah, it's quite nice. Cool look at the spine, and on the back, we got a couple different screenshots. It talks a lot about multiplayer and the new additions made to the game, 4-player co-op and stuff, and all this, cool new additions to the franchise that they were making at the time. Now, our game disc here is pretty simplistic, just like Call of Duty 4. It's just basically the logo and all black, so that's fine. And then our manual here, now this is black and white. It doesn't go into too much detail. It's about 10 pages or so. And just, kind of your basic bare bones stuff. Kind of a shame, would have been nice to have a more well put together manual, but they did this with Call of Duty 4 and the previous games before then. So, this was Activision just cutting costs in any way that they could. So anyway, at least there is a manual, but yeah, cool look at the box art there for World at War. Now, when it comes to music and sound design, we have another textbook example and a showstopper. I must say, I completely forgot, or perhaps I wasn't really paying attention back then, but the music in this game is just so astonishing. Now, the original Modern Warfare theme is burned into my memory, but when I started playing this one, I was just quite impressed with just the variety and the quality of music on display. And again, I just think I wasn't paying attention back then, or I just forgot. I don't know, but it started coming back to me in pieces. Like when I jumped into the menu of this game, when you're first booting it up, the shrieking sound of the music that starts playing when you first get into the menu, it just brought back a bunch of memories. And outside of just that track alone, there are so many others here that are present, they are audible, and they enhance each of the battles in meaningful ways. I really enjoyed the music in this entry, so much more so than the music in Call of Duty 4 back when I think about it. It just elevates the tension, and especially at the end of the game where you're storming the Reichstag, the chants mixed with some of the light electronica just really bring a unique sense of character to this entry that is just unmatched. The sound design just doesn't miss a beat either. Guns are incredibly loud, very impactful, and it's a very careful balance that when you have attention to detail like this in the weapons, often what could happen is that they drown out the smaller nuanced themes such as the music. But here that just isn't the case. Everything is mixed to perfection. The guns are present, the sound is terrifying, and the music remains audible regardless of the content on screen. And again, voice acting is just top notch. Gary Oldman in particular is just so iconic as Reznov and delivers a career best performance. And I mean, you'd be hard pressed to even tell it's him if you didn't look it up. He's just incredible. I cannot speak enough about the presentation here. Everything is cared for, enhanced, and built upon from the excellent Call of Duty 4. And still, this game retains a unique sense of character that doesn't feel like it's kind of stuck in the shadows of its predecessor trying so hard to outdo it, but rather does something new and something different with the tools at its disposal. It's just simply another incredible outing from this series, which was just on the rise at this time. You know, replaying this game all this time later, it just really got me thinking how good we had it back during this era. All of this was new and being experimented and built upon, and the Call of Duty series making a substantial amount of money at this time, which may, you know, when you adjust it for inflation and you compare the series to the money it makes now, it may seem like it's only a fraction compared to, you know, the amount of profit that Call of Duty brings in today. But what the hell happened, man? I mean, you see the raw talent of this studio having the chance and time to really craft something remarkable. And you see the money that was being made by these games just funneled back into this series to make it even more impressive and have even higher quality. I mean, I'm sure they didn't skimp out on paying Keith Sutherland and Gary Oldman, but in next year's entry, which was Modern Warfare 2, they got Hans Zimmer doing the soundtrack, they employed Lance Henriksen. I mean, with all the money this franchise is making now and the continuous amounts of cash that it brings in day over day, sadly, none of that is present now. It's turned into one giant advertisement and sort of like a hero shooter. Well, they'll cram in all these different IPs and characters and stuff that have nothing to do with the main Call of Duty series in general, but are just there to enhance and make people like they're a part of something that's about pop culture, I guess. But the soul is lost, and while some people may enjoy the game today, I have to say, when you kind of look back at everything that they were doing and the amount of effort that they were putting in to really make this stand apart. I mean, keep in mind that these systems, you were really power constrained, so they were putting 60 FPS out there with state-of-the-art visuals, employing Hollywood talent, getting incredible cinematic scores by professionals and all this stuff. And none of that is present. You know, it just feels like the games today are so cookie cutter, like a checklist of items that it must have, and just inconsistent amounts of effort baked into these releases. I don't know, man. Playing this today really brought about an interesting feeling, and you know, the game was intense and challenging. I played through this one on Hardened 2, and you know, it was not an easy experience, you know, especially for me, but there's just enemies coming at you from all over, and it just feels so removed. It feels so removed from the games that we get today, and really paints an interesting picture about the world and expectations of this franchise during this era. And just compared to how it is now, it's just so crazy. Anyways, World at War was a substantial game at the time. There's no denying that. But replaying it today, I think I enjoyed the campaign more so, vastly more so than I did back when the game was new. And I think a lot of that has to do with maturity. A lot of that has to do with playing games today and seeing the direction that games are today. I mean, age has really done this game wonder. I do still think, though, that Call of Duty 4's multiplayer was a bit better for me and something that I still prefer. I did actually jump in online after playing the campaign again, just for a bit. But I have to say there's still a decent amount of people consistently playing this game online. I didn't have much trouble getting into a game, and there wasn't hackers, there wasn't, you know, any BS going on. It seemed to handle just smooth and fine. And I also have to mention that Nazi Zombies, which just completely changed the whole franchise moving forward, was introduced with this game. It's been a staple for many, many years in this series, something that a lot of people buy Call of Duty for specifically now, and seeing the grassroots of how it started. And I remember playing Nazi Zombies back during the holidays and stuff, and I think I even did some videos where I was playing Nazi Zombies with some friends of mine, or that might have been Call of Duty Black Ops now that I think about it, but I recall that I did do some content specifically on that. In any case, there's just so much added here, and so much was new, and care was put into every, you know, nook and cranny into this experience. It's fantastic. Anyway, it's quite excellent. I had a great time, so let me know what you guys think and how many of you were here at release. Did you play this one, or did you get into Call of Duty later? I'll be interested to hear what you guys have to say, and I appreciate all of you watching. Please have an awesome rest of your day, and thanks so much for the support.